You are now the Wayward Vagabond. WV, retreat, got him already. WV, examine rotten pumpkin. What pumpkin? Check the little red bar. It appears to be a gate for a large power cell, perhaps fueled by some type of nuclear reaction. If this is the case, it is relatively low on fuel, but who knows how long it has been running here. You do not care about this sort of nonsense, and you will disregard it at once. You are very hungry. Capsulog can of gravy. Capsulog? You have no idea what that means. It is total nonsense, and you do not know what to make of it. You will not give the foolish notion a second thought. Fine. Pick up the can of gravy. Just pick it up. You just pick it up. You are now holding the can of gravy. Use your sharp teeth to poke a hole in the lid of the can. Your teeth are useless for that task. They are blunt like that of livestock, presumably suitable for mashing up plant matter and not for puncturing metal. Attempt to open the can with your weak, pathetic digits. Your weak, pathetic digits are not strong enough to penetrate the can. Your fingers are certainly pointy enough and your black carapace is suitably rigid, but you just don't have enough muscle for the task. Take the can labeled beans. Okay, you take that too. Examine the can of custard. The can clearly reads mustard, a fact of which you were perfectly well aware. It is sort of cumbersome holding all these cans at once. You doubt you can hold many more than this, maybe one or two. You'll need to find something to put stuff in if you want to carry a lot of things around. Examine the marking on your wrist. You drop all the cans and take a look at your wrist. It's a sort of specialized barcode pattern. This brings back unpleasant memories, and you would prefer not to dwell on it. Examine the small potted plant. What plant? Check the book on human etiquette. It appears half the pages of this book have been eaten. The daunting volume is considerably lighter than it once was. You are somewhat skeptical about the nutritional value contained by these pages. However, with the practical wisdom they contain, there can be little doubt. You have learned so much. You empty the peculiar cabinet and take a quick inventory of your canned goods. You have beans, mustard, gravy, bread, shrimp, asparagus, cheese, rice, corn, peas, flour, chestnuts, mayo, ham, potatoes, and squash. Such bountiful plenty. And yet, the delights taunt you from within their small metal prisons. You have already looked all over the place for a can opener, even making a few electronic inquiries about one, to no avail. Nothing else is inside that purple cabinet either. Locate a nearby sharp object. You wield your trusty knife. It is actually you're not sure what they're called. It's an old rusted one of those red mailbox arm swing flappy doodads, either for letting you know there's mail in the box, or maybe for alerting the mailman to outgoing mail to be collected. You don't know, really. You've wrapped a little piece of cloth around it for grip. It is useless for opening cans. Now, WV, be the imp. This means nothing to you. You are not an imp. You have no idea what an imp is, and you will not entertain such frivolous and childish ideas ever again. You hate yourself a little for even considering it. Become the mayor of Cantown! As the glorious founder and mayor of Cantown, you erect a dignified, majestic city hall out of cans, fittingly capped with a tome of good manners for the roof. You have given yourself a very official and important-looking mayoral sash made out of old cables to complete your look of authority. A number of rather civic-minded citizen cans gather in front of the building to offer adulation to their fair and magnanimous leader. All is well. You immerse yourself in this beautiful dream as you whittle away the minutes, or perhaps hours. You love the idea of being a mayor. You love everything about mayors and the concept of an orderly civil democracy. It all seems so mannerly and reasonable to you. Everyone is friendly and happy, and the city runs like clockwork. The foundation of the government is based on mutual respect between the leader and its people. It is also built on having a really great mayor that everyone loves, who is totally amazing and heroic and brave. Mayors are so much better than kings. You hate kings and you think kings are really stupid. They are petty, bossy tyrants and are really full of themselves and are basically awful in every way. God, do you hate kings. WV, explore west of Cantown. Over here is the other side of the room. There's another one of those purple storage boxes and some useless objects scattered on the floor. Use the glowing green rock to open cans. You pick up the nugget of uranium and... Oh, that was so stupid! Why would you do that? Examine the box of crayons. It's chalk, numbnuts. Inside the box, there are 12 pieces of chalk in every color of the... 10 pieces of chalk in most colors of the rainbow. You are excited by this. WV, try to open the storage box. It's locked. There must be some sort of mechanism for this thing. WV, examine contents of yellow container. The container is full of motor oil. This does not seem useful to you right now. WV, rescue that poor lightning bug. There's nothing you can do for this new little friend. Attempting to crush the amber encasing the firefly would likely cause it harm. It, nevertheless, bravely flashes on. You find its light alluring, inspiring. To you, it seems as if it could quite easily serve as the light of democracy. You use the chalk to sketch a handsome network of sprawling thoroughfares for your citizens to traverse. The adoring population applauds its mayor's keen instincts for city planning. You even add some lush vegetation to your city with a piece of blue chalk because you can't seem to find a more suitable color for some reason. You develop westward, settling those fertile plains and claiming them for your own. You section off a number of residential and commercial zones with civic growth, arranged in the only logical pattern that occurs to you. You color the residential zones with your piece of white chalk, but for some reason none of the colors in the box strike you as suitable for the commercial zones. Perhaps there is an alternative. WV, use your own P for the commercial zones. You cannot urinate because you have not had anything to drink in quite some time. You are very thirsty. Also, that is a really terrible idea, and you would not consider befouling your wonderful city in that way for even a moment. Instead, you fill each empty square with a bit of motor oil to complete the zoning. It looks rather striking to you. You can hardly imagine that an up-and-coming young can trying to make it in the world would not be delighted to live in your fair district. You are very careful not to get any of the unpleasant fluid on your person. Now, WV, peel label from can of mayo and affix it to your sash. It seems you've run out of territory for your westward expansion, but there is still a lot of empty wall space. Perhaps your citizens would be happier with a colorful backdrop that would make them feel more at home. Using most of your imagination and an entire piece of sky blue chalk, you render a bright and cheerful sky full of clouds. You have decided that very closely orbiting your city is a luminous planet, about which orbits a single moon. You switch to another shade of blue and continue rendering on the western wall. Orbiting much further from your city are 4 planets. None of these have satellites, you have decided. Yes, that makes sense, you think. And on the southern wall, beyond an impenetrable veil of darkness, occupying the furthest orbit yet, there is an ominous planet. A moon circles this one, too. WV, check out that rampaging girl on the screen. Oh yeah, it's that girl. You'd almost forgotten about her and her confusing shenanigans. It seems like she has things well in hand at the moment. She does not appear to need your help, and you've already concluded that she cannot help you for the time being. WV, turn on the other 3 screens. You have no idea how to turn these on. There's no mouse for this weird quadra-monitor computer. It can only be operated through text commands from its keyboard. Perhaps there is a special key or command which will allow you to switch to another monitor. WV, press Tab. WV, consume several cans. You free the heavenly brown elixir from the jewels of pink carapace and imbibe like the wind. It is so sweet and sugary. You wonder how so much sugar can fit in one can. Whatever mighty wizard concocted this potion is truly deserving of your fear and respect. Welcome the rest into the city. The tabs are naturalized as loyal new citizens of Cantown. All cans are welcome and equal in your city, regardless of can content and whether empty or full. It's not like emptying a can kills it or anything. They're just cans after all. WV, hit escape. Feeling refreshed and heavily caffeinated, you go back to work on the big computer. You hit escape, which seems to minimize the action window thingy and reveals a history of all the commands you've entered. You use the arrow key to scroll up a bit. You can't believe how much you've already typed into this stupid contraption. What a waste of time. You scroll all the way up to your first command. It looks like there are more commands above it. Maybe someone was entering commands on this thing before you? There aren't many more. At the top of this list appears to be the very first command. WV, type switch 2. You activate screen 2. The signal is garbled and you have no idea what you're looking at. Some sort of filthy beggar pleading for help? No one is around and nothing is happening. You seem to be locked out of any sort of interaction with whatever's happening on this monitor. WV, type switch 3. It's another one of those rapscallions. This monitor is locked too. You can't tell her what to do. Not that you really want to, since it just looks like more confusing nonsense to you. You consider switching to screen 4, but decide against it. You have a feeling that whatever's there would just confuse you even more, and you don't even really care that much anyway. WV, type home. All 4 screens activate. Together they display a countdown starting at 4 hours and 13 minutes. WV, type reboot. You can't! Nothing is working anymore! The timer seems to have disabled the keyboard. WV, be the mayor. Enough of this nonsense. You are an important mayor, and this absurd contraption has wasted enough of your time. You've got a city to govern with a carapaced fist, which is to say, firm, yet polished, and supple as the situation demands. Anyway, this will help you kill some time for a while you wait for that clock to count down. WV, create employment opportunities for the citizen cans. You temporarily dismantle City Hall to free up all the can power available to create a vigilant town militia. You divide them up into 2 groups, marking them with distinct teams and ranks using the piece of white chalk and the motor oil. You then organize them in phalanx across the countryside, preparing for a stiff training regimen. When you are through with them, your forces will be a well-oiled machine. Chalk another one up to bold leadership. Lead your men to victory. You waste more than 4 hours on this tomfoolery. WV, mourn the loss of Citizen Tab. Your caffeinated jittering must have agitated all the little bubbles curiously hidden in the liquid, creating too much pressure in the can. You speculate this is why it exploded as you nervously eye the timer. You're starting to wonder what will happen when it reaches 0. Maybe it would be best not to be near it when this happens. Minutes in the future, though perhaps not as few as implied by circumstance, a peregrine mendicant trundles precious cargo beneath the gleam of the celestially ominous. WV, go outside and get some sun. You say a bittersweet goodbye to your beloved city. It is time to move on to greener pastures, by which, of course, you mean an arid sandy wasteland upon which nothing green has grown in years. The door shuts behind you. A panel on the door becomes illuminated. As you ponder over the marks on the panel, you hear another mechanical sound overhead. The LCD panel appears to have a touchscreen interface. WV curiously crawled the funny-looking spirograph. It appears the funny-looking spirograph room is locked. The floor rotates a full 360 degrees beneath you, while the surrounding wall seems to stay put. WV, select the triangle fractal. The triangle fractal room does not appear to be locked. The floor turns 120 degrees and the door opens. You go through the door to find another room. It's the same size as the one you just wasted all that time in, while a clock was ticking down to something which may or may not be your doom. Maybe there is something in here that will help you escape. Against the wall, there is another perplexing contraption. Against the opposite wall is some sort of control panel which catches your eye. It has 2 large screens, but only one appears to be active. There are fields for numbers which appear to be modifiable with the dials to the right. Some numbers are already supplied by default, perhaps entered by the previous user. There are a few buttons below, the largest one bearing the symbol marking this room. Also, it looks like there is a meter stick propped up there for some reason. Attach your trusty knife to the meter stick. You immediately craft a measuring spear through possibly the most advanced form of alchemy employed thus far. This is obviously the most important thing to do. Obviously. Or it would obviously be the most important thing to do if you had remembered to bring your trusty knife. You feel so insecure without your trusty knife. It makes you want to slit your wrists, or at the very least, flog your carapace with some sort of measuring apparatus. WV, look at the other wall. You examine the perplexing contraption across the room. You of course have no idea what it could possibly do. You adopt the only obvious course of action, which is to poke and prod it with your handy ruler. You're quite sure this is what science is all about. WV, press the triangle pattern. You go back to the control panel, which probably obviously controls that gizmo, and you push the big blue button, which is obviously probably the most obvious thing to push. You purify a pumpkin. It seems this mysterious gourd was transported, purified, from a specific time and location somewhere on this planet you are on. You wonder if the machine, a purifier, will take any object that exists at whatever time and location was applied. There's a symbol carved on the pumpkin. You don't know what that means, and you doubt it will ever prove to be relevant in any way. You consider dining on the right flesh of the plump vegetable, but your curiosity about the purifier gets the better of you. You try to sneak a nibble from the pumpkin nonetheless. You first examine the attractive green buttons. The icon for the one on the left is that house shape you've seen plenty of times before. The right one, on closer inspection, appears to be the map for this underground facility with an X marking its center. You push the button. All of the numbers change. Perhaps these are the coordinates for the location and center of this facility, along with local date and time? If this is the case, it would make a useful reference point for your current bearings. One way to find out would be to attempt to purify something from this facility. It should be easy to zero in on a location relative to the center because you have an uncanny knack for tracking precise distances you have already traversed in whatever units you choose. Your handy ruler gives you a good clue as to the basic unit of human measurement. You will go with that. WV, purify your trusty knife. You nudge the coordinates very slightly and bump up the elevation by 0.5 human measurement units. You make sure to keep the time approximately what it was to begin with. You purify your trusty knife. WV, purify Can Town. You nudge the numbers a bit more and purify a bunch of cans. This is so much more efficient than walking back to the other room to get them. You are to believe that time is at a premium after all. WV, de-purify the pumpkin. Does this machine look like a de-purifier to you? Honestly, the idea that a purifier could both purify and de-purify things is so laughably ridiculous, you wish someone would de-purify your brain and re-purify it with a brain that is more smart and less dumb. WV, use your trusty knife to carve spook schema and pumpkin. What the hell are you talking about? That idea makes no sense at all and is basically meaningless. Try using that mushy stuff in your gourd next time. Instead, you just carve off the top, exposing a decadent cache of gorgeous seed-laden ambrosia. Needless to say, you consume all of it rather quickly, but it turns out to be too gross for us to watch. WV, move the spirograph switch. You cannot move it! It has a spirograph-shaped indentation and will possibly require a special kind of key to turn it. WV, purify Firefly out of the amber. You release your blinky new friend. You will give her a name when something suitably whimsical occurs to you. WV, adjust time dial to purify Rotten Pumpkin. You and Serenity considered new ways to waste more time with the purifier. You are assuming she is a girl firefly, even though you are not really sure that fireflies can even be girls. You target the extremely tasty Rotten Pumpkin that was sitting in the other room hours ago. It seems the purifier cannot purify something if it will create a time paradox. A gelatinous ghost pumpkin purifies and quickly dissolves into a pile of unappetizing sludge. WV, purify the grate over the entrance to the facility. Serenity blinks a message of urgency. You nearly forgot that while trapped in amber, she was witness to all your tomfoolery and dilly-dallying in the other room and knows the timer is about to expire. It is time to get this show on the road and escape. You reset the coordinates with the right green button again, and this time only adjust the elevation by approximately 10 human measurement units. Hasten to the exit, post-haste! You attempt the rare and highly dangerous 5-time cliffhanger combo and fail. We are doing it, man. We are making this happen. End of Act 2.
You are no doubt reading this as a beautiful and strapping young woman. Why, the ladier it needed to lift the book is itself a sign of your maturity, not even to speak of the wisdom needed to grasp the nuance of Sassacre's time-tested mischief. I am so proud of you, granddaughter. How I wish I could have delivered this heirloom to you in the flesh. But I am afraid it wasn't in the cards. For you see, Joan, like you, this book must yet take a journey. Its journey will end on the final day of my life, and even then will continue some. Though I suppose that will be up to your mother. Perhaps she will discuss it with you one day, when she and you are ready. But it is your journey I am writing about to wish you luck. There will come a day when you will be thrust into another world. And once you arrive, that is only the beginning. You will soon delve even deeper into a realm of warring royalty in a timeless expanse. A realm of agents and exiles and consorts and colonel sprites. Of toiling underlings and slumbering denizens, a realm where four will gather, the heir of breath. I've done it again. The heir of breath and seer of light. A realm where four will gather, the heir of breath and seer of light, the knight of time and mage of space, and together they will ascend. Joan, if only you knew how important you were. I regret my passing came so early in your life, and yet I feel in my heart we have already met. But what I know for sure is that we will meet again. Until then, Joan, I do hope your mother keeps you well fed. With love, Papa. Ho, ho, ho.